had a lot of people requesting a review of
The Fast of Night
in the comments. So here we go. What is up, Flick fans? Welcome back to my channel. I'm going to say it like that every time.
The Fast of Night.
It's a brand new low-budget independent movie on Amazon Prime. So if you have Prime, this is free for you. Well, I mean, you're technically paying for it, but this is somewhat free for you guys to watch right now. I was able to check this out. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Non-spoiler review, let's get into it. So, at the dawn of the space race, two radio-obsessed teens discover a strange frequency over the airwaves in what becomes the most important night of their lives and in the history of their small town. This stars Jake Horowitz, who is relatively new, Sierra McCormick, who has popped up here and there, and a director in Andrew Patterson, who is directing his first feature film. And what I loved about this movie is the fact that it has this independent, low-budget feel. Because anytime they have the opportunity to show you something, if it was a bigger budgeted film, maybe they would have opted to let you see, allow you to experience what our characters are experiencing. Most of the time, they would refrain from doing that, and a lot of that has to do with the budget, yes. But in my opinion, something like that is almost more effective because it builds this anticipation. It builds this intensity to what ultimately could be a payoff. Now, is there some sort of payoff? Well, I don't want to spoil what that is, but let me just say that it doesn't leave you hanging with that reveal. It doesn't leave you wanting more. You get exactly what you signed up for. It may not be as prevalent in the film as you want it to be, but I really like the way that they worked around that. And you know, a lot of the times I sit back and I say, don't take the budget into consideration. Doesn't matter if it's low budget, whatever it is. If it's a good movie, it's a good movie. This is one of those cases where I say, you know, maybe some people will walk out wanting a lot more with this film. I've already seen a couple of reviews on IMDb, user reviews, and they're saying, it's just a boring movie. Not a lot happened. One review that gave it a 3 out of 10 said, I watched 15 minutes, couldn't watch it any longer, so I turned it off. And to a degree, I understand what they were saying because the first 25-30 minutes of this movie moves at a pace that will turn some away, absolutely, and I understand where you're coming from. But if you stick with it, you get the chance to learn who these characters are and understand that this is the definition of a small town. Everyone seems to know everyone else, and people hear things. It spreads around town. There are rumors that are being spread about certain people that may or may not be true. That's the definition of a small town. I grew up in a small town, and trust me, something happens, someone 10 miles away is going to know what happened. It's just the way it goes. So I like the feel. They captured that very well, and they captured these characters as well as they possibly could for the time period. It feels like it's the 1950s. Not only is it the 1950s, but it's almost this Twilight Zone version of our world. And the movie even takes an interesting stylistic approach. It starts out like an episode of the Twilight Zone and says, here is what's going to happen with this story. It's not of this world. It's something different. It's something new. It's something fresh. And I kind of agree with all of those things. It is a fresh story in a sense, even though it's pulling from things that we know and that we have seen before. It doesn't do anything revolutionary or quote-unquote new, but it constructs the movie in a way that feels fresh compared to what else we have gotten this year so far. You have a charismatic radio DJ and a switchboard operator. They're at the forefront of this story, and they're going through a routine radio show, and all of a sudden they get a frequency, a strange noise that they've never heard before. Then we have someone calling in, trying to explain their relationship with that noise, and then you start to hear the tale around the town that this is something that could possibly be not of this world. What is it? Well, that's a mystery we slowly start to unravel and uncover, and the movie really focuses on the conversations, on the dialogue, and we get a lot of quiet and subtle moments with one character telling a story, kind of building up an interesting sense of intensity that I haven't felt in quite a while. It's a mixture of movies like Super 8, shows like Stranger Things. It kind of harkens back to Steven Spielberg's Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and the cast is honestly fantastic. Some of the supporting players, I think at times, were a bit over the top, maybe some people in the background that didn't have as much of a role in the movie, but our main player, Sierra McCormick, is fantastic. When there is fear on her face, you feel that. When these characters see things in the distance, you understand that their mentality right now is pure unadulterated survival mode. It is fear, and that is showcased beautifully. Jake Horowitz was also really, really good. I spent 2 years in college on the radio, and in the movie, Everett changes his voice from his normal voice to his radio voice, and they play upon that multiple times, and I thought it was realistic. I thought this movie itself, even though it goes very sci-fi at points, and some of the stories that are being told, they're out there, but they do a really good job of keeping you on board, even though at the end of the day, it is a film that feels maybe too familiar, maybe too much of an obvious mixture of movies and shows that we have seen recently, and that's no fault of the filmmakers, and I was really impressed with what he was able to do first time behind the camera. That's impressive, and when these low-budget movies that maybe not a ton of people believe in at first can hit like this one hit, that's really impressive. That makes me want to root for everyone involved here, and
The Vast of Night
was really impressive. Again, it's not going to be the most entertaining movie you have ever seen. I can promise you that. Most movies don't showcase this kind of restraint. And maybe, again, the budget could have forced their hand at that, but when I say restraint, I mean, don't expect to leave this movie saying, wow, I've never seen anything like that before, because you have. It's just very well made and very well crafted. So thank you guys so much for watching this review. If you'd like to see more, if you have any recommendations, leave those in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to smash that thumbs up button. No longer giving sixes. It feels like that's all we've done on this channel for the last couple of weeks. Going a 74% for The Vast of Night on Amazon Prime.
The Vast of Night.
It's a good movie. It's worth a watch. It's really solid. It's well made. It's everything you want in a cool, mysterious sci-fi film with this budget, living in that fantasy world like a Twilight Zone episode. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you at some point tomorrow.